lucky to have heard that original recording of a bloke in 1527 doing the washing up. Amazing to think that even people back then had to wash up their plates and bowls and mugs. Quite profound. Hello and welcome back to the final couplet with me, Theo Cowan. I hope you've had a good week. I know I have. It's been bloody hot here in England, still hot, and of course when you're recording a podcast you have to keep the windows closed to try and keep some of the noise out when your neighbours are using electric drills and saws on a Saturday. It makes things even harder. But hey, neighbours need to build super basements. That is their basic need. So good luck to them. Godspeed. I hope you enjoy your nice new basement. Let me tell you this. There was a lot of bad things going on in Shakespeare's time, and it probably would have been a horrible time to live in, but he wouldn't have had the issue of neighbours building super basements. So that is one bonus for being around in the 1500s, I would say. Obviously, the early mortality rates and horrible diseases were bad, but were they as bad as constant building works? I don't know. Something to think about, I guess. Anyway, it's probably about time we have a look at some Shakespeare. And today we're looking at Sonnet 66. Let's take a listen. Sonnet 66. Tired with all these, for restful death I cry. As to behold desert a beggar born, and needy nothing trimm'd in jollity, and purest faith unhappily forsworn, and gilded honour shamefully misplaced, and maiden virtue rudely strumpeted, and right perfection wrongfully disgraced, and strength by limping sway disabled, and art made tongue-tied by authority, and folly, doctor-like, controlling skill, and simple truth miscalled simplicity, and captive good attending captain ill. Tired with all these, from these would I be gone, save that to die I leave my love alone. So there we have it, Sonnet 66 in all its glory. And this is something that we haven't experienced before. It's quite repetitive, I'd say. A lot of ands. And if I would encourage you to take out your phone or your book of sonnets that you have at home, because everyone, of course, has a book of sonnets in their bookshelf. And if you don't, then come on, what are you doing? I'd encourage you to take that out and have a look at how it's written down, this one, because it's just and at the start of every line. And we haven't seen Shakespeare do that before, so this is something new for all of us. Does it work? Don't know yet. Do I like it? Also, jury's out on that one. But it is different, and he's experimenting, I think. I mean, I doubt he's the only one that's come up with putting and at the start of a line, but it's an interesting one. And I'd say the overall meaning is he's saying he's tired of all these things and then lists them all. And that's basically the form of the poem. It's just like me writing a list of things that I don't like on my notes app in my phone, something like that. Very similar, in fact. Right, let's dive into this line by line and work out what the hell Shakespeare was going on about in Sonnet 66. Tired with all these, for restful death I cry. So here he's setting up the sonnet, really, with the first line saying, I'm tired of all of these things that I'm about to list. And I'm so tired, it makes me cry out for death. All right? So that's pretty serious. It's not just like, oh, I'm tired of this. It's, I'm so tired of these things that I want to die. All right? So the stakes are high. As to behold desert, a beggar born. So here I think he's saying, I hate seeing people that, deserving of more, destined to be beggars. They're born beggars, and that's all they can amount to. But they're bright, they're clever, they deserve more than being beggars. So that's number one. And needy nothing trimmed in jollity. That's a great term, isn't it? Needy nothing. I mean, you don't want to be described as a needy nothing. That's bad, isn't it? But I think that essentially means a sort of worthless person. So he's saying, and worthless people, needy nothing people, trimmed in jollity, so decked out in the fanciest clothes, in the nicest garments. That's annoying, isn't it? Seeing people that are just crap, wearing really nice things, like celebrities on the red carpet. Not calling all celebrities worthless, of course, but, And purest faith, unhappily forsworn. That's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? That's going against your faith, breaking vows. Don't do that. No one likes that. No one likes you going against religion. Come on. Then we continue with, and gilded honour, shamefully misplaced. Now this, I think, means honours given to the wrong people, misplaced. That honour should have gone to that person, not that person. He or she sucks. Don't give the honour to that person. It should have gone to that person. Can I be any clearer? Trying to think of a modern day example. David Beckham not being given a knighthood. He desperately wants one, doesn't he? But he hasn't been given one. And does he? It's not. I don't know if that's quite a good example, because does he deserve a knighthood? Does anyone deserve? I'm not really for knighthoods, to be honest, but it's a bad example. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's continue on. And maiden virtue rudely strumpeted. And I'm not sure about this one, Shakespeare, mate. I don't know if you should put this in a poem. It's not a great thing to say about women. I probably would have just kept this one to yourself. But it's made the poem. It's made the list of this has made the list of things that Shakespeare is so tired with. He wants to kill himself. And this basically means virtuous, pure women turning into women that sleep about. And look, this isn't the term that I would use now, but back then it would be called whores, because the term strumpet is a woman that sleeps about, essentially, and who commits adultery. It's a shame that the word strumpet, it is a great word, it's a great word to say, but the meaning of it is not great. So I'm not surprised that it's not used much in modern day language, although whore still pops up. So come on, choose which one. I mean, if people are still saying whore, that's not a good word. Why is strumpet gone out the window? Don't have either of them, I say, but interesting that strumpet dropped off and whore carried on to this day. And right perfection wrongfully disgraced. So that's people that are in the right being wrongfully called out and disgraced, maybe in a trial or something like that. And strength by limping sway disabled. If you're a keen listener, you might have heard that I didn't actually say disabled when I read the sonnet in full, but I thought I'd give it a go there, and it sounds quite good. Sounds all right. We'll keep it. And this is a slightly murkier one, but I think it's saying that strong people disabled by weak authorities, essentially. So the strong-willed, the strong-minded being disabled and shut down by weak, pathetic, sad little authorities. And that very much rings true today, doesn't it? in many, many countries all over the world. And art made tongue-tied by authority. So that's artists silenced by authority. And that is also happening all over the world now. There is a freedom of speech in art that is being taken away in many countries. So this does still resonate. And obviously back then in Shakespeare's day, there was a lot of censorship going on. You couldn't just go out on stage and say whatever the hell you wanted. It was a dangerous game, which would have really sucked, to be honest. You would have wanted to write what you wanted to write about, slag off the king, slag off the queen. But no, you couldn't do that. That wouldn't have gone down well. And folly, doctor-like, controlling skill. And I like this one. This is saying, I think, fools, like idiots, controlling the clever, the wise, like a doctor does with their sick patients. So just idiots controlling the clever. That doesn't make sense, does it? Don't do that. So there is a theme here, and a lot of it is about authority and how stupid and idiotic those in power are, and how much control they have over the clever, plucky, determined public. And captive good attending captain ill. And I think this is basically saying that good is being held captive by evil, essentially. And now we're on to the final couplet. Finally, after this long list of things that Shakespeare hates. Tired with all these, from these would I be gone. Save that to die, I leave my love alone. So of course he had to tie it into this whole love sonnet thing that he's got going on. It can't just be a big rant. He's got to tie it in eventually. And this does sometimes make me think that he was commissioned to do these sonnets by someone, because it sort of seems like he wanted to get a lot off his chest and then was like, oh shit, I forgot the love part of the sonnet. I'll just tack that on the end. No one will know. And this final couplet, he's saying, I'm tired of all these things that I've just listed, and honestly I'd like to get the hell away from them, even if that means through death, like I said at the start. But only issue is that if I die, I'll be leaving the person I love all on their own. So that's not great. So probably won't die. So after all that, I'll probably stay alive just because I have to for my love. So that is Sonnet 66. An interesting one, and I really like the themes of it, that he's saying people are being oppressed by the authorities, and art is being censored, and clever people are being controlled by absolute idiots, essentially. So interesting themes, and themes that haven't really cropped up before in any of his previous sonnets, if I remember correctly. Now, I think it's about time we put this sonnet to our story, and if you will remember from last week, Shakespeare travelled all the way to Barbados to visit Christopher Marlowe. And Christopher Marlowe was sat on the beach and he was surrounded by all his sexy, lovely men, and he listened to Shakespeare recite Sonnet 65, which was all about time destroying loads of things, and the only way to preserve Christopher Marlowe's beauty would be through Shakespeare's writing. So let's see how that went down. Shakespeare finished reading Sonnet 65 to Christopher Marlowe. Christopher Marlowe looked around him and then back at Shakespeare and said, "Well, Shakespeare, it turns out you can indeed write. That was rather beautiful. I like how you talked of time and destruction, but also of my beauty, for I am incredibly beautiful. I think, if I may give you a note, you could work on the part where you say the only way to preserve my beauty is through your writing, because I would also say that maybe I could preserve my own beauty through my writing. So, just to let you know that my beauty can also be preserved that way as well. Just a thought You're not the only one that can write, all right? And also you said black ink could also write it in blue, if you fancied. And Shakespeare said, well, I take all of your points on board and I appreciate it. And of course, I'd like to just let you know that I have actually had a talk with Time, and I told him that he's got to lay off destroying your beauty, and I told him about my writing, and it was a great little chat. And Christopher Marlowe said, right, you had a word with Time, did you? Okay, that's, yeah, I'm sure you did, Shakespeare, I'm sure you did. Now, you must stay, of course, tonight, and have dinner with me. And Shakespeare said, oh wow, it would be an honour. It would be an honour, Christopher Marlowe. So, that evening, Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe met up for dinner at a 2-Michelin-star restaurant. There was only one restaurant on Barbados with 2 Michelin stars. Of course, if there was a restaurant with 3 Michelin stars, they would have gone there. But alas, Christopher Marlowe snapped his fingers at the waiter and said, red wine for both of us. And he turned to Shakespeare and said, so I suppose you're wondering why I had to flee to Barbados. And Shakespeare said, well, I mean, only if you want to tell me. You don't need to tell me, I'm not that bothered. And Christopher Marlowe says, no, I suppose I should tell you. Well, Shakespeare, I made a bit of theatre that, how do I put this, undermined the crown, should I say. And Shakespeare said, oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess you can't do that, really. And Christopher Marlowe said, yes, I put on a show where I portrayed the king as having a little penis. And Shakespeare said, oh, wow, okay, yeah, that's, no, that wouldn't have gone down well, for sure. Christopher Marlowe continued and said, and I wrote a little song saying, I've got a little willy, I've got a little willy, look at me, I've got a little willy, which, as you can imagine, didn't go down well with the king when I performed it in front of him at court. And Shakespeare said, so you had to run, of course. And Christopher Marlowe says, yes, I did. I fled, chased by his armed men. And I came all the way to Barbados for safety. Shakespeare said, by God, you're brave. You're so brave to stand up to the king and his authority. This turns me on to no end. Christopher Marlowe leaned back in his chair and said, why, thank you, Shakespeare. And Shakespeare said, you know what? I've got a sonnet. I wasn't going to read it to you, but it's all about the authorities and their control over us. And I simply must read it to you, for I feel it shall resonate. Christopher Marlowe said, yeah, okay, I mean, I thought we'd just have a chat, but I guess, yeah, you can read your sonnet. And Shakespeare said, oh, thank you, because I haven't read it to anyone else yet, and I think you will really like it after what you've been through. So Shakespeare removed Sonnet 66 from his back pocket and read, Sonnet 66. Here's a list of things I'm sick of, so much so that it makes me want to die. People that deserve more, destined to be beggars, and worthless, shitty people dressed up in fancy clothes, and sacred vows broken, and rewards shamefully given to the wrong people, and chaste women that sleep about, and people disabled by the government, and artists silenced by authority, and idiots controlling the wise like a doctor does the sick, and simple truth mistaken for idiocy, and the good enslaved by evil. I'm tired of all these things and want to be rid of them, except that if I die, I'll be leaving the person I love all alone. So, there we have it. Shakespeare has finally arrived in Barbados, and of course, he's already read 2 sonnets. The guy loves sonnets, that's for sure. Let's find out next week how Christopher Marlowe responds to Sonnet 66. And of course, we'll be taking a look at Sonnet 67 because that's what comes next. Until then, bye!